Hi, this is Wyvern Blazewood, aka Why Not, here with Catboy Qunhua. He is a comedian, creator, builder, and store owner in Second Life. Hey,
Hello.
Catboy.
How are
Hello.
you? Hello.
So
Catboy
nice.
here.
When did you first join Second Life, Catboy, and what brought you into Second Life?
Okay, interesting story. I was drawing a lot of cartoons, and I was uploading the DeviantArt, and I had this funny little character I called Catboy, who was a little, like, 8-year-old kid who was kind of insane, and he wore pink tights, and he wore cat ears, and a tail, and I never explained why. That's just who he was. I never really came up with a backstory to explain it. And he was on these crazy adventures, and when I was uploading them, I noticed that they were advertising for Second Life on DeviantArt, and also there was a couple of stories that showed up on CNN. Remember, they were talking about that musical group that never actually met each other. They were from everyone, like one lived in Australia, one in Japan, one's in America. They all came together. It was Space Junkie, and they were performing at Bear Rose, and they had footage of this on CNN. I thought, you know what, this looks pretty cool. And then someone said, you can be anything you want, and I mean literally anything. It's not like World of Warcraft where they say you can be anything, and it's always one of 6 things. You know,
Hmm.
like they said, you could literally be anything. You can build your own avatar. So I said, okay. So I signed on, and I created Catboy, the name, and I grabbed the first name, second name that came after that, Kunhua. It's like, it begins with a K. It'll sound all right, whatever. And I signed in, and I found out right away that trying to build your own avatar requires skill I just simply didn't have. Like, I can actually show you a photo. I just built the skinny avatar. It's the same body I have now, by the way. Very skinny with sort of pink tights. I tried to make a tail. I put some ears on them that were very simple trims, and that was it. And and obviously it didn't look very good. It wasn't great. But it was a start. I mean, that's how I got started. From DeviantArt, boom, right onto Second Life.
Ah, that's cool. Well, I love your avatar now. It's really
Oh,
cute.
thank you. Thank you.
Can you share with us one of your first, most memorable moments of your early days here in Second Life? It might be something funny, fun, scary, proud,
Okay,
or
well, I'll tell you what. I'll tell you how I got the avatar the way it is now. Like, how did I discover the persona of Catboy? Is when I first got on, I got onto a place that was called CARP, which was short for Capture Role Play. A lot of people probably know it, CARP. And I thought it was really fun. I mean, it was also a sort of a BDSM sim with people having sexual role play, but I didn't really care about that. What they had was this giant maze, and people were chasing each other through it playing tag. And I honestly thought that was the coolest thing in the world. I thought that was awesome that people are chasing each other around playing tag in a giant maze in a virtual reality. I thought, that's so incredible and creative that you can just come up with something like that. So I was playing that, but the role was they had dominatrixes chasing slaves around in the maze. Yeah, that was it. And if they ever caught a slave, then they would just drag them out to a dungeon and whip and beat and have their way with them or something like that. Although honestly, most people were just there to play tag, which is what I was doing. And what happened was one day, the whole maze is full of slaves, and the host, made an announcement saying, "We don't have any dominatrixes to do any chasing around. We got nothing. Yeah, we have to have the dominatrix is it. If this is a game of tag, they're it, right?" So I said, you know what? I'll be a dominatrix. So what I did was I dressed up my avatar in women's clothing. It was all black leather with a whip and everything, a short skirt, women's hair, women's shoes and everything. I just grabbed it off a freebie island for the hell of it. And when I dressed up my avatar for the first time in women's clothing, I realized, wow, this avatar looks really cute in girls' clothes. It really works. And that was it. And I said, you know what? That's Catboy. From then on, Catboy wears adorable girls' clothes, and it works.
and Catboy shops in one place, which is
Bear Rose. But I occasionally go to Snatch. The outfit I have on right now is mostly from Snatch because they make good old-fashioned texture clothing with trim skirts. I really love that.
yeah. And what do you like about Bear Rose?
I love the color. If you want to buy something that has a heap of insane color in it, I love them. Also, they're one of the very few people that make mesh clothing that works on me because they have an entire section called Flat, which is made for women that just have very, very flat chests or no boobs at all. Which is basically what I am. And a lot of those clothes just fit me perfectly.
Oh, cool. Well, and Second Life, how did you get into doing comedy? You at Cookie, which is Thinker's Quest.
Okay, when I started, it was in the year 2012, and just out of the blue, I thought, are there anyone, I mean, I don't really know why I thought of it first. I just thought, is there anyone in Second Life that does comedy? And I was kind of surprised I had not run into anyone like that because there was so much live performing going on. I mean, I knew there was book reading and, of course, tons of musicians. Was there comedy? And I decided to have a look around. And I just did a regular search in New Advance, and that's how I found Lawrence. I went there and I ran into J Wheels, I believe, and it was also Geo Meek. I ran into Geo Meek, and Geo Meek said, and I asked him, and he said, well, if you want to see some comedy, or if you want to try it, and he really tried to encourage me, like, it's always an open mic night. If you want to try it, please go up on stage. So I went, I said, you know what, I went for 1 week, and I watched Lauren for 1 week, and I thought, you know what, next week I want to give this a whirl. I'm going to give it a shot. I'll do 7 minutes of comedy. And Jim said, absolutely, you can give it a shot. And from there, Lauren gave me a chance. And from there, I've been performing every week ever since.
We always want more people at Lawrence, right?
Yes, we do. We're hurting for comedians. We're begging for them. I mean, it's the reason why I started hosting over at, Comedy Factory by Leo Love. Asked me, and I said, you know what, I'm going to do it, but the sole purpose is we're going to try to get more comedians. We're going to get more people to try comedians. Because one thing I don't want it to become, where it's the Catboy Qunhua show, where it's just me every single week doing jokes. I said, I don't want it to be that. And honestly, if somebody else wants to take over hosting, I will surrender in half a second. Because what we want, yeah, the whole point is we need new people to try comedy, and that's why we're doing it at the Comedy Factory. I'm going to try and drag new people, kicking and screaming to try it out.
Well, you do comedy in 3 different places, Lawrence
Yes,
and the Comedy Factory,
and well, of course, I can't do this interview without mentioning Hooligans. Of course, we got to mention Hooligans. Hooligans.
That's
is
right.
Right, we've been at Hooligans for more than a year now. I think is it more than a year? Could be 2 years.
I don't think
remember.
so. I don't
It's
think
been
so.
more. I know it's more than a year. It's at least a year. We've been performing at Hooligans, and of course, I know Hooligans solely because you asked me saying, "Hey, do you want to come down try Hooligans?" And it was the diner place. It was that sim, I believe, was full of motorcycles or something, and then we moved it. Or sorry, you guys moved it over to the new location. And since then, Hooligans has been a place where we're sort of experimenting. We're trying things that we can't do over at Lawrence, and one of them is Hollywood Squares. We're doing
Tell about
Hollywood
that.
Squares. Yes,
Yeah.
Hollywood Squares. Now, we call it Second Life Squares because we don't want lawyers jumping up our butt, but you know what Hollywood Squares is. You know what we're doing. And I came up with this idea because I wanted to try something that was interactive with the entire audience. And it's all about getting more people to try comedy. Because if we can get some people to come up from the audience to go into the squares of Hollywood Squares, they could just make stuff up and try to be funny and whatnot. So it's all about getting the audience involved. And of course, the audience get to be contestants too.
And they really are funny, too. There's been some hilarity there.
Absolutely. And it's honestly, when the more out of control it is, like that one night where we had Magnus where the whole thing turned into a giant cluster mess, it was really frustrating because it's trying to herd like a herd drunken cats, literally, when it gets up. But honestly, when people watch it, it's the funniest darn thing in the world. It's absolutely hilarious. It really, really is. It makes for great TV, in my opinion. It's too bad we didn't record that show.
I wish we did have a copy.
Oh, I know. Yeah, we got to bring Magnus back one of these days, or and a couple other people like him. Just have them just steal the show, and just carry on all night long about their nonsense.
Yeah, I love that little granny was great too.
Oh, I know. I haven't seen her in ages. She was so funny. She was only there the one night where she did Hollywood Squares. This wonderful old lady. I have this avatar where I look like trailer trash, where I'm dressed up in like a pink robe with my hair in curlers and whatnot, and I tell like trailer trash kind of jokes with a broken cigarette. She's kind of like the grandmother of that character, is who she is. Like an 80-year-old woman, with the huge blue hair, but hers is actually pink. But you know what I mean? Like a massive hair that they have. Beehive hairdo from the 60s with probably like 50 cans of hairspray to hold that up there. And the old Jewish mother accent, which is just drop dead so funny, like Mike Myers' coffee talk kind of an accent. which is just lends itself to comedy so naturally. I miss that lady so much. I hope she comes.
Me too. We'll have to hunt her down.
Yeah,
Now,
I know.
I know you've done comedy events outside of Cookie and the other two places we've mentioned for different events. What are some of the events that have drawn you to offer your services for comedy?
Okay, well, one of the big ones, the biggest one, is of course the Second Life birthday party. I've been performing there for about 3 years in a row now. Last year, I did a 1 hour show with Thinkerer, where it's not just me telling jokes for an hour, but we also interrupt it and we do comedy sketches. And we do it in the style of the Dave Allen comedy show. As a matter of fact, I even made a replica of his studio, where I sat in the chair and had the same backdrop, and I was telling like the kind of jokes that Dave Allen told, and then we would interrupt that with a little short 5 minute comedy sketch. And we're doing the same thing this year, where I'm going to be, but with this year we're going to be adding more to it. You're going to be in there. You'll be doing
Yeah.
stand-up comedy, and we're going to be doing at least 3 comedy sketches with myself, Thinkerer, and one of them is you're involved. You're going to be the giant stupid robot.
Well,
Big
that'll be
stupid
easy for
robot.
me. The
Yeah.
stupid part, anyway.
The big stupid robot that comes in and wrecks everything. You know, that's going to be a lot of laughs because visual cues really work very well in Second Life. When we tried it last year, what I did was I was in you know that they have to test drive those little pods that drive people all over the sim.
Yeah, I love those
And
pods.
I made a replica of that pod, except it was on fire. And it crashed, and everyone thought it was hilarious. You know, they loved it. About it could talk like, "Yeah, I'm on fire," and it crashed. And instead of the thinker coming to rescue, he makes me sit through and burn while he goes through a questionnaire like, "When did this start going wrong for you?" Well, the part when I was on fire. And we're actually doing a sequel to that this year. It's going to have a sequel to that. We're doing the giant stupid robot. Last year we did a Monty Python sketch that's known. A lot of people think of the parrot sketch. We actually did the penguin sketch, where a penguin blows up. And I was kind of amazed because that sim was very full. And you know how laggy things get. It actually blew up on cue when it was supposed to.
Wow.
I was so happy when that happened. It's like, oh my God, I pressed the button and everything worked.
You can
And
only hope for that this year, huh?
oh, I know. Well, this year, instead of being reliant on scripted things, we're just going to be relying on sort of gravity to work on cue. So when the giant robot comes, stumbling through to wreck up the set, what we're going to do is we're just going to de-link everything, make it physical, and all you have to do is walk through it, and that'll just smash everything instead of flying all over the place. It's going to look great on camera.
All right. Well, I've known you for a while now, and because of that, I know that you have a store on Second Life where you sell things that you have made.
Yes.
How would you classify this shop of yours, and what kind of things do you sell there?
But mostly I make accessories. What accessories are just anything that attaches to your avatar. And most of it is just there for looks. Like a lot of people are thinking, like, is it a gimmick? Is it scripted to make things happen? It's like, not really. It's just there to look good. And I can tell you
some accessories. Yeah, tell me some of them.
Well, the big one, the one that I'm mostly known for is cameras. I make lots of cameras. And most of the cameras I make are really old vintage mechanical cameras that were built before cameras ever had any electronic parts in them. So they're all film cameras. Old-fashioned, yes, old-fashioned mechanical ones. And then on top of that, it's just any random stuff that just sort of comes to mind, like, oh, how about like a deneuralizer from the movie Men in Black, or some vehicles, or just a sword that looks good but doesn't actually do anything. It just looks pretty when you wear it.
What's been your biggest seller there?
Oh, easily the camera. I have 2 cameras. One of them is the Pentax K1000, which
I have one in real life.
Yes, everybody has one of those in real life. It was the best seller film 35 millimeter film camera in the history of the world. They made over 30 million of these cameras over the course of 35 years. That camera remained in production. And I actually have one. I'm holding onto it right now. I keep it on my desk, and it's all covered in filth. I got to clean this thing off. But yeah, I made a replica of it in Second Life, and people absolutely love it. And it's not even mesh. It's just made out of old-fashioned trims. And people love the heck out of it, and they buy it. And the other #1 seller I have is the Leica camera, which is a camera I only wish I could afford to have in real life. It's the old 1960s M4 Leica, which in real life, I've seen that on sale on eBay for about $2,500.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I know. Although Lauren claims to have one. Our friend Lauren Whalen. She says she has one of those.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, my favorite thing that you share with me is your flushing toilet.
Oh God, yes. Okay, the gag stuff. Yeah,
Yeah.
I made a toilet when I discovered like how to make a fountain out of particles. I thought, wouldn't it be great to have an overflowing toilet that's just erupting poo constantly all over the place? That's all it does. It just flings poo everywhere. It's like an eternal poo fountain. And that's what I did. And I said I made that, and I thought that was funny.
All right. Well, what would you say is your most proud moment or most rewarding thing that you've done since you've been in Second Life?
Probably last year when I did the 1 hour show with Thinkerer, and we had 2 sold-out Sims. 2
Wow.
absolutely full Sims, because they put it in a corner where 4 Sims meet, and that's how you have several hundred people in one place in Second Life. 2 sides, on one side is supposed to be for the performers and people who run the event, and 2 Sims are entirely for viewers, and both of those were completely full. But it's not just how full it was that I'm proud of. I'm proud of the reaction, because we had a lot of people who think that comedy is a waste of time in Second Life, and they said, you made us laugh.
That's always rewarding. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the people at Linden Labs are asking for help to spread word about Second Life, to bring more people into Second Life and attract them to this virtual world. Do you have any ideas about what you think might be an effective way to attract more people to Second Life?
Well, what we really need is something of mass media to make people aware of what's going on in Second Life. Because one thing that helped really back in the early days was, that CNN story where millions of people saw it. Because we've already saturated ourselves in covering social media. Like, Second Life is already on Facebook. They're already on Twitter. They're already on Reddit and a whole bunch of other places. And honestly, we've gotten every single person we'll ever get from that media. What we really need is to break into other forms of media. And I understand that Wall Street and a few other people are doing stories on virtual reality comedians. And I looked into the worlds. Like, one of them was Alt VR, and I signed an account there, and it is completely Mickey Mouse compared to Second Life.
Huh.
And I thought, why is this place getting all the press and we're not? In my opinion, because Alt VR
you need to be writing a letter here, buddy.
Yeah. So somebody, like, if that's what you're interested in, if you want to know what's going on in virtual reality, you really should be looking into Second Life, because everything else is Mickey Mouse compared to how powerful this world is, in my opinion.
Well, we know you have a store. We know you're a builder. We know you do comedy. But what other activities do you enjoy, or do you even have time to do anything else in Second Life?
In Second Life, well, I'd like to go to the show and tell, because I'd like to encourage other builders. I was actually there just yesterday. They had some excellent things on display there. Somebody did a perfect replica of a Ferrari, the classic Ferrari Modena. This is one of the damnedest things I've ever seen. Just amazing builds. And there's a lot of new people there that are always stirring out, and we love to encourage them. As a matter of fact, when we vote, I like to vote for the newest person that's there. I always give them a shot, because we want to encourage people as much as possible. So I always tend to be more generous with my votes with the new people, saying, keep it up, keep building, keep doing this. And, and like I said, we encourage people to give this a shot. Give it a whirl.
That's good. I think it's always good to encourage people and to cross-advertise, too. As we try to do in this show, so that people are aware of other places that they can go and things they can do. Well, do you have anything that you'd like to add that I may have left out of this interview? Anything about yourself?
Another thing that we do is that I also make Machinima in Second Life. I work together with Thinker and Mavel. Of course, I work with Thinker on many things, and we develop scripts, which I later turn into Machinima, which is like short films. I actually did a half-hour film called Blade Runner Dreams, which is supposed to be my personal take on what a sequel to Blade Runner would look like. By the way, they're actually doing this in real life now. Ridley Scott decided to make a sequel, and I shot a half-hour film, and I uploaded that to YouTube. But I also worked with Thinker on making a comedy, and the comedy was Flying Saucers from Outer Space, which was a parody of the 1950s sci-fi.
I have that. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that video. And where can they get
That's
that?
fun.
On your Facebook or something? Or where is it?
That's also on YouTube. That's available on YouTube. Just type in Second Life Flying Saucers from Outer Space. You should be able to find it.
Yeah, I have it. I have it. I think you gave it to me, but I didn't know how I
Mm-hmm.
got it. Yeah, you just gave it to me. Well, I want to thank you very much for taking your time to be here today. And if there's nothing else to add, everybody come and
it's
see
excellent.
Catboy at Lauren's Place, Hooligans, and every other week on, what is that, Wednesdays,
Wednesdays, Leo loves Comedy Factory.
Comedy Factory. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here, Catboy.
Oh, I had a wonderful time. I hope to see you again soon. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.